As CNN marks Holocaust Memorial Day on the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, we also want to focus on the young heroes who made freedom possible for hundreds of thousands of prisoners at other Nazi-run concentration camps in Europe. Rick Carrier is one such hero. The World War II veteran was the first American to discover Germany's Buchenwald camp, ultimately leading to its liberation. I spoke to Rick Carrier, and now, even at 90 years old, he relives that day in incredible detail. Here is his story.
I saw the opening of Buchenwald, the main gate, and I had with me. I went up there because I wanted to find space material for engineering. That we needed rocks, we need timber, we need all sorts of stuff to build roads with, and that was my job, was to find these things. When we went up to the camp and went in there, I was very cautious. When I got in there and looked at it, I said, woo. I parked the Jeep in the woods and then walked around the other side, and they were over to the barbed wire fence. When I got there, I looked down, and there was a guy crawling underneath the wire because they'd cut off the electricity. And he was snaking underneath the wire, and the barbed wire was ripping his back like a cat was ripping apart. And I mean, his back was just streaks of blood. It's torn up because he wanted out of there. Yeah. I got down and I got my clippers out and I cut a big oval in the barbed wire, and he got out. But when he got out, he stood up. Now this man was nothing more than a human skeleton with skin on it. His eyes were black rings and little dots in them for the irises. Every part of his body had sores on it, vituperating pus coming out of the eyes. But he came at me, and I saw something in his eye that I had never seen before.
What was that?
I could see love, and I could see affection pouring out of the eye, this body, and the hands on it, and he couldn't speak. And he was walking toward me, shuffling, and he knew what I gave him. But he wanted to tell me that, and behind him was three others coming out with him, and they come over to him, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. Now, the odor in this situation was unbelievable. You think about a rotten egg. Well, just think of rotten egg and a dozen other things that are foul smelling, because that woofed in me, and I felt myself begin to collapse again, because that happened earlier, and I really started to go down. I said, no, I can't do this. So I backed up a little bit. When I backed up, I heard machine gun fire, and behind me, up in the tower, clock tower in the front, the machine gun bullets knocked the glass out of the front, and I looked up, and it was 3:15 in the afternoon. It stopped. And I said, it's time to get out of here. I spoke to my colonel. He said, I'd already spoken to Eisenhower's office and also Patton's office, and I want you to go up there, back to the camp, and be there tomorrow morning at 8:30, so that when the tank comes down from this 8th Army Tank Corps, you show him where this is. And then he'll go up, and you then blow off the rope and get with it with him, and then call us and tell us it's okay to come up. So that became the official opening day for Liberation Day for Buchenwald. And so that, the 11th, is the official day. That way we had everything up. But when we got up there, the tank got up there, I blew the lock off the gate. The lock was nothing more than a chain with I wrapped primer cord around the chain, and they were like a pair of big shears cutting it off. And the lock fell on the ground, and the chain fell on, and the hand of one of those guys come out and took it in, a souvenir. And then the gate slid open, the tank went in, and all the guys piled out and started giving chocolate to it. And they didn't know at the time, but two pellets took the chocolate and ate them. And they took 3 steps and fell dead. They couldn't take it. And within minutes, nurses and doctors came in and said, you can't feed these people that. And they started taking them, cleaning them up, delousing them, and taking them to place and giving them baths. On the train, Margaret Burke White took pictures of them on the train, and the one picture in it was the guy pointing his finger in the air. And that figure, that man that did that, called me on the phone 2.5 or 5 years ago and said, Mr. Carrier, I'd like to have lunch with you. Would you come up? And I said, who is this? He said, Irving Ross. He said, I was one of the orphans in that you left out of Buchenwald, and I want to thank you for it. And I said, sure. So I went up to the restaurant he did, and I went in, and he was sitting down. And he came over to me, got up and came over, and he put his arms out, and he hugged me. And when he did, his eyes were having tears. And I felt it, and he said, I want you to know that I would not be alive today if you hadn't come there, because I was on the next batch to be taken out in the woods and shot. And you saved me by 1/4 of a day.
And this photo is of someone else who you saved. That's him.
That's him. That's Irvin right there. And he was on the March of the Living, and we became friends. And I'm given many lectures in places with him with me, and I tell my side and he tells his side. The day I talked to a whole room full of students, and every one of them asked me the same questions, and I said this: when you see something like this, there's no way to be prepared for it. You could be trained in anything you could think of. But when you see it and smell it and feel it in the nature of where it is, and see the absolute depravity of what the Germans did to them, the Nazis did to them, you cannot believe for a minute that anybody would survive it. Because they were living skeletons with skin on it. But they were still up and bravely walking because they had the idea that sooner they would be saved rather than die. And that, I felt that come out of them, and that once it came out of there, I felt their willingness to live was stronger than their willingness to let them die.
It's such an extraordinary and incredibly vivid account. I will never forget it. That was World War II veteran Rick Carrier sharing his incredible true story of discovering and helping to liberate Nazi Germany's Buchenwald concentration camp.